Hi everyone, I'm John Simpson and this is Erin Browski and she's going to tell you a little bit about her teaching career.
I've been teaching for approximately 8, 9 years, depending on how you look at it. My first year in the teaching world, I had a maternity leave. I then taught at a high school for 2 years in the suburbs, and I have been at the same high school for the last 6 years, which is also in the suburbs. I have taught a combination of health, occupational health, adapted PE, leadership training, freshman PE, net and rackets, girls strength and conditioning, group fitness, intro to dance, and advanced dance. I'm primarily a dance teacher, and then my other class just depends on the load of the classes for dance, and then whatever they need to fill in, I basically jump in.
Okay. If you had to choose one piece of advice to give that you wish you knew your first year of teaching, what would it be?
I think something that's important to know as a first-year teacher is to remember that it is okay to fail, and it's not everything's going to work out exactly how you wanted it to. Sometimes what works for one class or one group of students will be amazing and wonderful, and then that exact same lesson plan with another group of kids will be a total fail. So don't be scared to try new things just because you think that they might not work necessarily, because there's a lot of value and a lot of information that you can gauge from that, and you can kind of grasp from that. So just know that part of teaching, especially as a first-year teacher, a lot of reflection, a lot of looking at what you did, look what works best, what doesn't work, why did something work, why didn't it work. Also know that your coworkers can be some of the best resources that you have out there. Some of the greatest teaching tips that I got, ways to manage a classroom, ways to approach grading. Talk to people at your school because they know your clientele and they know what works for you there. So they can be a great resource. A lot of those teachers have been around for 20 years, 30 years. So I like to take a little bit from all of the different teachers I've worked with and all the people I've met along the way.
Okay, great. Thank you. Do you have a reward system for good behavior and completed assignments? And if not, why? And if yes, is it every time?
In PE, we don't necessarily have a ton of homework or assignments like you might see in a classroom setting. However, in my experience, I have found that even at the high school level, kids love prizes and the opportunity to win things or rewards. So what I will do is put rewards, but only on some items. So for example, our final project in dance, they choreograph this huge number and they present to their classmates. Well, the kids all get a vote and they vote for a fan favorite. So that doesn't necessarily mean the dance that gets the best grade. It's not looking through my lens, it's looking through a group lens. And we always bring in guest judges, for lack of a better term, so the kids get to see some of their favorite teachers from outside the classroom that just so happen to have lunch or planned period or whatever off periods that teachers might have, and we bring them in and kids enjoy finding out who's going to be the guest judges for the year. In dance, they win a simple pair of socks. Nothing crazy, nothing over the top, but it's something that they get really, really, really excited about. In my more team-driven sports, for example, the winners of a volleyball tournament would win a Gatorade. So the winning team, each member on the team gets a Gatorade. I'll pick up a case at Costco, and the kids really get excited. I know it sounds ridiculous, but
Probably helps with motivation
too,
right?
A simple little trinket like that can go a long way, and the kids really appreciate it and get amped for it. So I like to incorporate it when I can.
Okay, thank you. Do you accommodate different learning styles in the classroom? And if so, do you find it difficult to juggle the different forms of the lesson for each student?
I actually try and give as many options and as much variation as I can, just because when kids have a little bit of choice and have a little bit of say-so in what they're doing, I feel like you get a lot of positive responses. Our school actually recently just offered differentiation instruction training for us. Within the last 2 years, we've had a couple of cohorts available in school. So the nice thing about that, if you ever have an opportunity to learn more about it or go to a training, I highly recommend it. It's not that you're creating 20 different lesson plans. It's all about how you modify things and how you give options. So going back to the project that I was just talking about, our final project for dance, students have some creative flexibility within there. There is a structure and there's expectations that every student needs to do and every student needs to accomplish. However, giving them the freedom to choose which style of dance they're doing, what song they're using. Instead of saying you need to do a pirouette, they have an option to do any type of pirouette with any different arms depending on what they're comfortable with. And I find that a lot of kids take ownership of that. Also in team sports, going back to that class, Sometimes we'll do 2 different tournaments within a tournament. So students have different levels of competitiveness. So I might hold a competitive bracket and a non-competitive bracket so kids can choose which group of students they're playing against, because sometimes the non-competitive students won't give you as strong of an effort when they're playing against a really competitive team. However, when they're paired with another team who is in the same wheelhouse as them, they tend to give a lot more energy, a lot more effort. So it's definitely not something I do every day, but I definitely do it a lot, and the kids will respond well to it, and you get a lot of great effort when you do stuff like that. So definitely look into it and definitely try as much as you can.
Okay, great answer. Thank you. How do you handle students who misbehave or break the rules in the class?
This is something that like I said at the beginning, every class is different. Every group of kids is different. Always talk to a student as a person. Have a one-on-one conversation with them. Don't ever single a student out in a big group in front of the class, because you never want to make them feel bad about themselves. Obviously, there are situations where you have to, but I try and do a lot of interventions on my own. Don't ever go straight to the deans. Don't ever go straight to the higher powers that be, unless, of course, it's an extenuating circumstance or something serious. You want to try and
take care of it
yourself. Depending on the class, I use a lot of easy little nonverbal cues and things like that. I don't know about you guys out there, but cell phones are always an issue in school with students having them out and this, that, and the other. Instead of making a big deal out of it, you have your rules and expectations set up at the beginning of class. Make sure the kids know what's expected of you. And I can do a simple, eye contact with a nonverbal cue, and the kids will know what I'm saying. Put it away. We move on. I don't have to stop the whole class. I don't have to stop what I'm doing, because a simple nonverbal cue and a little redirect can help them get back on task. Being fair, being consistent, treating all kids as equals. Another thing that I have found, especially when I was in the classroom with health, have the students help build the rules. So don't just tell them the rules necessarily, but help them, or have them help guide your classroom rules and have them be part of the process in giving feedback so that they can take some ownership on it.
Okay, thank you. What tools and actions do you use to motivate your students?
I talked about it before with, the socks, the Gatorade, so that's some extrinsic motivation, but I try and talk to the kids about things that would be more intrinsically motivating. A lot of why are we doing this? In PE, there's always going to be kids who love working out and love sports and love activities, and there's always going to be kids who hate sports, hate activities, don't want to move. So I try and help those students find value in what they're doing so that there is a certain level of motivation. Of course, there's the motivation of a grade, an external motivator, but making the kids really understand that there's value to what they're doing and relating it to real life experiences. Because anytime you can relate it to something personal to them or something that might benefit them, it's always going to help improve their performance in class. In a strength and conditioning class that I have, I've got kids that are involved in band, that are involved in gymnastics, that don't involve themselves in any extracurriculars. But I try and take that time to talk to them and help them realize how this could help them in the types of things that they're interested in.
Okay. If there was one policy that you think every teacher should implement in his or her classroom, what would it be?
Keep everything fair and keep everything consistent. Treat student A, student B, C, D, E, F. Treat them as equals and treat them as one. Because if students ever feel like you're not treating them fairly or equally, it's just going to cause a really negative energy and a negative vibe in your class, for lack of better terms. So I would say keep it fair, keep it consistent, and always make sure that they are well aware of your expectations. Don't assume that anyone knows anything. I like to do little reinforcers along the way whenever we're doing a student performance. I tell them, remember to be kind and courteous, treat others the way that you want to be treated yourself, and just having those reminders. Little reminders and little goofy positive things like trying to boost everyone's morale and esteem. Keep them happy, keep them well-rounded.
Gotcha. Thank you very much, Erin. Thank you for your time.